Hello and welcome back to Medical Compliance with Clarissa. I'm Clarissa Benfield, our Global Business Line Leader and the Director of our Medical and Laboratory Business here at Intertek. Today, I am so excited to be joined by Paul Moliski, Vice President of Accreditations here at Intertek. Paul, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, Clarissa. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. So maybe to kick us off, you can tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got into the accreditation side of our business.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that question.
Just a little intro to yourself.
Okay, good. I started with Intertek a long time ago when it was initially just ETL testing laboratories. At that time, it was prior to any of our acquisitions, and so I was part of the initial acquisition with Inchcape in the early 90s. Since that time, our business has really grown dramatically. I've spearheaded accreditations with OSHA, Standards Council of Canada, through Latin America, and supported the development of many of our offices. I think we have almost 50 electrical labs globally now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think all of your experience in accreditations and kind of working in this space over the years makes you the perfect person to have on today to talk about a really exciting new program that we've been working on, which is the Accreditation Scheme for Conformity Assessment, so the ASCA program through the FDA. So maybe we can just start off by telling everybody a little bit about what ASCA is. I know it's been kind of a buzzword that's been going around.
Right. Well, ASCA, you mentioned it, Accreditation Scheme for Conformity Assessment. It's a voluntary program offered by the Food and Drug Administration to ensure medical device testing labs meet required criteria. This program was part of the Medical Device User Fee Amendment, which is called the MEDUFA. And we're in the MEDUFA 5 series because that was originally kicked off in 2002. Part of that includes the ASCA program. It was a pilot program, and this was just finished a congressional review, part of the 5-year MEDUFA review, and ASCA will now become a permanent FDA program in October. So hats off to the FDA. It was a great initiation pilot, and they seem to be happy with the results thus far.
Yeah, and I think with ASCA, it's been exciting. Obviously, we've been involved for quite a while, and we got started pretty early on working through this program. Of course, it was something that we were thrilled to be a part of. So maybe we can touch a little bit on why this program was created in the first place. Obviously, it's for this conformity assessment. It has to do with the test labs, but why do you think, or why was this program created by the FDA in the first place?
Well, it was after a lot of input from industry, trade associations such as AdvaMed and third-party testing laboratories. It was created to enhance consistency and reliability of medical device testing, which supports the regulatory mission of the FDA. FDA was tasked with finding more efficient ways to bring products to market, and ASCA is the result of that.
Yeah, and so ASCA obviously relies, heavily on these partnerships with the test labs, of course, test labs like ourselves. So how does this program actually work in practice?
The laboratories are required to go through a 2-step process of accreditation. We apply for accreditation through one of 5 designated or recognized accreditation bodies. The labs are audited and to both the 17,025 requirements and the FDA requirements for ASCA. After that step has been successfully completed, then we apply for accreditation at the FDA.
And so, right, when we wanted to go through this process, obviously we got our labs accredited, which then allows us, of course, to be able to do the testing and participate as part of this ASCA pilot program. So who all can participate in the ASCA program?
Well, right now there's 5 accreditation bodies, and any qualified independent laboratory globally can participate. There's, I think, about 95 accredited labs. Intertek has 16 labs globally that are accredited in the program.
Yeah, so basically how this has worked, right, is the FDA has gone through this process of assigning these accreditation bodies that could then accredit the test house. So as a manufacturer, right, I can go to any of these recognized test houses, have my testing done via the ASCA pilot program, and then receive my ASCA reports, right, and submit those to the FDA as part of a submission.
Right. The program allows medical device manufacturers to use labs to conduct testing to be included in the pre-market submission to the FDA. This is an abbreviated report, and it accelerates the process during the review at FDA.
Yeah, and I think that, of course, that's one of the main benefits for a manufacturer, right, of using the ASCA program, because now you can go to one of these, 90-something test labs, as you mentioned, right, and they've gone through that level of additional scrutiny, additional auditing to be able to participate in this program. You have your testing done, and now rather than submitting, 100, 150, 200 pages worth of test data as part of your submission to the FDA, you can submit this ASCA summary test report, which maybe is 5 to 10% of that size, right? So it's a quick modified version of a test report that really draws the FDA's attention, of course, to the main points of testing, right? The things that are of most concern, any, deviations from the test method, your essential performance, things like that will all be included in the ASCA summary test report, then get submitted to the FDA. So of course, as you're saying, right, that time and efficiency and speed in reviews is obviously one of the big benefits of going through the ASCA pilot program. And now, as you mentioned, right, the ASCA program, which will be permanent in the fall of this year.
Right. Right now, there's about 100 test standards included in the program. Through discussions with FDA, they're expecting or planning on adding more standards. So they want to see the program grow to include, more devices.
Yeah, so right now, I think all of the 60601 series of standards, a lot of the particular standards are included. We see 61010 that's included from a laboratory perspective, some of those standards. And I think even things as detailed as like biocompatibility and things like that, right? They had added some labs as part of the pilot program.
And also some EMC standards.
Of course. And so along with that, right? So, typically when you're looking to have your product tested, right, you identify all the standards. So how would I know as a manufacturer, right, if my standards are included as part of the ASCA pilot program? Obviously not all standards are included. So if I was trying to determine this, how would I know as a manufacturer?
Well, we would really need to go to the FDA website for ASCA and reference those standards to confirm that they're included in for your product.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point, right? So obviously the FDA, of course, has all of their recognized standards listed on their website, but you can also go to their specific ASCA information where you can see all of the test labs, right? And then all of the standards that are included as part of the ASCA pilot program, because of course there's some standards that perhaps the FDA wants to see full test data on that aren't included in the program, or maybe labs didn't apply to have those standards. So not every single Part 2 medical specific standard is included as part of the pilot.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the other things, that we look at when we're thinking about this process, right, as a manufacturer. So I want to, it brings this speed and the benefit of time, right, which is helpful. It also allows you to work with the test lab that you're used to. I think part of the motivation behind the program itself, right, as you mentioned at the beginning of the call, the FDA was looking to find efficiencies, and obviously us on the test lab sides, we're used to doing testing day to day. We're used to creating test plans, test methods, all the test equipment. And so I think that gives you that level of, certainty in the testing that you're going through. Any comments on the summary test reports themselves or what someone could expect? I think that, it might be worth noting the test plan element of the ASCA pilot program as well.
I was just going to mention you listed off several steps in the process, and what's great is through the program, all of the participants, all of the testing labs are audited and accredited to the same criteria. So that's going to bring a lot of consistency to the FDA, which should help FDA staff make those reviews. And early on in any new program, especially something like ASCA, and we all expected this, FDA did, and we did. The first few projects, really required some hand holding, and through exchange with FDA, I think we understand more what they're looking for, and the process now should only improve and become more efficient.
Yeah, I think when you think about it from a manufacturer's perspective, if I'm a new manufacturer and I'm thinking about making a 510(k) submission and I want to go through ASCA, I approach the test lab. One of the things that's different from a typical process, right, is that test plan element, as I mentioned, that comes up first, right? So you have to agree on a test plan with the test house before engaging in your testing, and it's signed off on. As you said, right, we're all following the same level of criteria to make sure that we have these test plans up front. It gets signed off on, so there's agreement from the test house and the manufacturer themselves before we get into the actual testing and then create those summary test reports. The other thing I think we should mention is, what's different as part of this process is the declaration of conformity piece.
Right, that comes from the manufacturer based on the pre-submission report.
Yep. So as part of your submission, right, you'll receive your summary test reports, but you also have to include the cover page that will indicate that it's an ASCA summary test report, as well as the unique identification number of the lab that was utilized. And then you also have to create that declaration of conformity. So similar to other regulatory programs, that's part of it as well. The FDA does a great job of laying this all out on their resources pages, on their ASCA pages, walking you through exactly what's needed as part of your submission. But really, this big benefit, as we mentioned, is you take it from having to submit all of those test details, all of the test data, and now you just are able to submit this summary test report. From an accreditation standpoint, Paul, as we're ongoing as part of the ASCA pilot program, is the FDA auditing us every year to make sure that we're maintaining everything that we're doing as part of this pilot program? Is it rolled into regular audits? How does that work so someone would know that we're continually staying up to date on what's required to participate as part of this program?
That's a good question. It's interesting. FDA holds the availability to audit the testing laboratories, but so far I'm not aware the FDA has audited any testing lab. We rely on our normal accreditation through A2LA and IAS for our accreditation audits. And through those maintenance audits, that's how we maintain or expand our scope in the FDA program or in the ASCA program. But should it ever come to be, FDA could audit the laboratory. I think they have audited the accreditation bodies.
That would make sense, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really exciting just overall. And obviously you've worked in the industry for a long time. You've worked on the accreditation side for a long time. Really positive to see, the FDA moving in this direction with a program like this to become more efficient and more effective, especially in the testing area where obviously, as we said, this is our bread and butter and what we're doing every day. And it's an exciting way for test labs to partner with the FDA, for manufacturers, for all of us to participate together with such an exciting program. Remind everybody of that date again, when it's going from a pilot program to a permanent program.
October 23. I think at the start of the new fiscal year for the government, October 1st, that's when it becomes official.
Yeah, so really exciting. I think we'll continue to see a lot of these, incredible advancements from the FDA as we see medical technology just advancing so rapidly and regulations changing so rapidly. It's just exciting to see that they're offering a program like this that we can participate and support manufacturers through the process. I think it's important to note, right, if you are interested in the ASCA pilot program and you come to one of our labs or one of the other labs in the program, you do want to make sure that you're noting up front if it's something you want to participate in. The FDA did make it clear that it's not something that could go, you couldn't utilize test data from dates prior to when they announced the program. And there's a special, process that we have to follow. So you have to know at the beginning of a project if it's something that you want to move forward with, so it can be developed as part of the project plan with the right lab, with the right engineers, all who have that special accreditation to be able to work under the ASCA pilot program. So want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. And then again, just the additional steps in the process with creating a test plan, having those summary test reports, and then having your cover letter and your declaration of conformity when you submit to the FDA.
Yeah.
Paul, is there anything else you want to add about this ASCA program? Really exciting that it's something we're, anxious to be a part of and will continue to participate in as we move forward.
Sure. I mentioned we have 16 sites globally accredited, 2 in Europe, several in Asia, and the remainder in North America. Those sites are listed on the FDA website. It's been an interesting process. It was, I don't know, more than 5 years ago, I think this concept or idea was batted around with manufacturers and FDA representatives. And we had the opportunity through a variety of meetings, whether it was IEC meetings or U.S. National Committee meetings, to just to have open conversations with FDA. And slowly but surely, the rulemaking came together, and they started the program. So it's I think it's really a success story and a win-win for everyone, for FDA, for manufacturers, and for the third-party testing labs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on that note, that's a great place to end, Paul. Thank you so much for joining me today. If anybody has questions about the ASCA program or would like additional information, please feel free to reach out and contact us, and we would be happy to answer those questions. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you.